when I got the opportunity to be involved in Tech West Midlands, I'm not sure I was completely sure what I was getting involved in. I'm not going to lie.
No one else.
But I think what I really liked, or what attracted me, was I thought, look, there's a bunch of individuals there that are really focused on putting this region on the global map for tech. I've had a career in tech. I've got different experiences. There's a part of me that has to pay forward in this equation. That doesn't mean I know everything. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to solve all the problems, but I'd like to be part of that journey. And I think, the last few months of me and Tech Week, as I said to you, was really interesting, the way people come and talk to you when you're on the other side of the fence. And they are looking to us to say, well, how do you help us get on the next stage? And you and I have talked about, connect, amplify, and transform. And I think we've done a fantastic job at Connect, and that's naturally maturing nicely. We're definitely amplifying our message. The fact that we're up for an award for innovation, we're out there talking about ourselves.
I think the figures that I heard just before this, actually, 119 million impressions around Birmingham Tech Week, the tech ecosystem across the West Midlands, during the last kind of couple of weeks. That's impact. That's what gets you noticed.
Absolutely.
That's what unlocks more investment. That's really important.
And I think memory serves, that's almost double of last year.
It is.
Right?
And I remember sitting here this time last year going, 68 million global impressions. How are we going to top that? And I forget that we actually have got a rock star in the Michigan.
Absolutely.
And our great PR team, East Village as well,
exactly.
Supported.
And I think it's now that right natural time to take the next stage of the journey. And I think, you and I have talked about it. I've talked about it with a number of different stakeholders in the ecosystem. We've got to this point. Now we need to get a bit more cohesion, a bit more collaboration, and sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And you talked about founder to CEO led, and I smile at our resume because the portfolio of businesses that I work with, I'm in that same scaling up journey, right? So it almost doesn't matter what the business is. Yeah. There comes a natural point where you say, right, it's great being a founder and just get stuff done, but now actually to scale we need to put structure and systems, and we need to put team and all of these kinds of things in place. So it is a natural piece. It's quite scary as well, right?
It is. Look, it's scary, but also exciting in equal measure. The way I've always liked to describe it is, as a organisation matures, it needs a set of processes, principles, and frameworks. Yeah. But actually, what you don't want to do is over-engineer that. So the kind of model that I always subscribe to is freedom within a framework.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that agility, that fleet of foot, but you do need to make sure that there are checks and balances in place, and there are the right people within the organisation, all of that. Yeah. And frankly, I can't be across every single part of the organisation as we grow, and we will grow because we want to have more impacts, across the ecosystem. So it's making sure that kind of I'm working on the right things, and I think that's why kind of what I want to make sure that I'm focused on over the next kind of 2 years is strategy and innovation. Yeah. It's making sure that I can continue to hopefully do a very good job of advocating for the region, but also setting the vision, making sure that the strategy of the organisation and the ecosystem is in the right place, but also we're not losing that innovative spirit that I think actually is part of the West Midlands ethos, but also our ethos as an organisation. Yeah. And so I think if I can kind of make sure that I focus on those elements, and then the right people are brought in and the right people are empowered, I think kind of the sky's the limit, not just for us, but for the ecosystem.
And I think you make a really, really important point there, right? Because often people confuse founder to CEO-led organisation. It's systems, it's processes, it's all the boring stuff that's going to make this, not as agile and fun as innovative. But actually, that's not the case. I think that one, as you said, allows you to bring more people into the organisation, make a greater impact. But I think it also allows you as a founder, who had that vision in the first place, to start working on the business, right? Because, defining that strategy, ultimately it's between you and I. We've got to work out how do we help this region get to 100 billion. And we've got about 5 and a bit years to go, right? Which sounds a long time. Because it was 5 years ago when you were sitting on the weekend setting up Birmingham Tech Week. So that's kind of happened really, really quickly. So I think, people often do misunderstand, creating that think space for you as a founder to be able to work on the business, particularly at this point, is so important. And I think with TechWM, it's even more important because we are, and I like the word you use, catalyst, facilitator to drive the region to that 100 billion. And, it's, as a chair, and I sit as chair of a number of businesses, sometimes it can be scary, sometimes it can be, I'm going into the unknown. But actually, every business that I've seen that's gone through this, and my own personal experience, as you go through the journey and you come out the other end of it, you go, God, that was the best thing I ever did. Because now look where we are. So where do you want TechWM to be in 5 years, right? So let's say we get to this 100 billion. What's success look like for you when you look back at it? Because it's like having a child.
It is, right? Look, it's, for me, it's not so much about the success of the organisation, although of course, like any organisation that you lead, you want it to be successful. But I think it's a different organisation, right? It's a CIC. We're not for profit. We're mission driven, and so for me, success is the success of the ecosystem. They go hand in hand.
Right.
So if I sit here in 5 years and we have a number of unicorns and we have a number in the pipeline and we have young people and also people from all walks of life with an opportunity to work in technology. There's a selfish reason to this, right? I've got a 4-year-old, right? I want to, and I love living in this region you mentioned. What I would love to be able to do is go, right, you've got all the opportunities and possibilities you could ever wish for in Birmingham and West Midlands, right? That wouldn't happen 20 years ago, right? The only option would be for her to get on a train to London, right? Times have changed. We have to seize that opportunity. So I think kind of, for me, 5 years time, for West Midlands, Birmingham, Coventry, Wolverhampton is seen in the same way that Birmingham, Berlin, Lisbon, Singapore are those kind of second tier tech sectors across the world. For me, that's the next phase of our growth, and that's what I want to sit here in 5 years and know we've achieved.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting the way you describe that because yes, we are a CIC. Yes, we are mission driven. Probably part of the reason as well why I got involved. And dare I say, we've got too many grey hairs now. We'll get into that the next phase of our lives. But I think it's almost leaving that legacy of saying I played a role in helping this grow, right? Because if we can build the tech sector to 100 billion in the region, the economic benefits of the job creation, the multiplier effect, all of that's going to happen. That somebody who leaves university who wanted to work in tech, like I did, didn't have to jump on a train and go down to London.
No.
Can actually come down to almost where we're sitting here now.
And I think it's a really good way of putting it because and look, the ecosystem existed before TechWM emerged, whether its current form or its previous form as Birmingham Tech. And there were people before I who took on that mantle. And I'd just like to take a moment actually to kind of recognise 3 people that come top of mind, but so many more. David Hartman, who really led the tech sector before I did, was a bit of a mentor to me and really helped a number of startups, go on to be very successful. Pam Waddell, who has led the Innovation Alliance for the West Midlands, and actually, the credit should go to Pam and others, of course, for us getting recognition around the capital of innovation.
Yeah.
And also Simon Jenner, who created Silicon Canal,
Yes.
which was the kind of Birmingham Tech before Tech West Midlands.
Yeah.
Will there be another thing in 10, 20 years' time? Most probably. Things evolve. But actually, I think the best thing we can do as an organisation is leave it in the best possible place for the next generation to take it on and achieve more.
Yeah.
And so it absolutely is a legacy thing. How do we leave it in a better state than we found it constantly?
Yeah, and I can say this, I've got a few years on me, there's very, very few people that think about at this point in your lives. Typically, it happens a little bit later on in your life. But it's a very admirable thing, right? It's one of the reasons why I wanted to help you and support you, if I could, right? But let's flip this now, right? So we talked about reflection, we talked about Birmingham Tech Week, a little bit of spotlight on what got it started in the first place. It's clear now, you're trying to build out the space so that you can really work on the business and really drive that ambition. To all the patrons, sponsors, the entire ecosystem out there, what's your one request to them to help achieve this ambition for all of us, right? Because we all benefit out of this, right? You're doing it from a very selfless perspective, and I think sometimes people forget that. But ultimately, success comes by working together. So we've talked a lot about what we're doing to try and help. What's your one request to the ecosystem, whatever part they play, to help us achieve this?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing is we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And so what we really need is you to lean in more. We need you to lean in, and we need you to come to us with new ideas, new ways of thinking, new ways of contributing, so that we can build this out and we can work as that pinpoint between private sector, public sector, and academia to really create something quite special. And so please do help us get to that next level, because you're not just helping us, you're helping your organisations, but most importantly, helping the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, no, look, that really resonates with me. I think over the last week since Tech Week, I've spoken to 4 different businesses that have engaged at the periphery of the ecosystem. And all I've done is connected a few dots and conversations, and the email I've got back is, I just didn't know that existed. So for all the success on Connect and Amplify, one, there are new businesses being created every day, so we're constantly in this education piece. And secondly, it's really around it all being together. I think for me, the only way for this to be a success is if we all collaborate together. And I see it, and that's why I think in my mind, I look at it and I go, it's a sleeping giant. The conditions feel like they're starting to align, whether it's academic institutions, capital institutions, our startup and scale-up ecosystems, whichever part of the ecosystem I look at, it's all starting to come together. But, I think you've just given us the new Tech West Midlands hashtag, which is hashtag just getting started.
Nice.
And the reason I smile was back in 2015, if you look at any of my LinkedIn posts, that's exactly what I used as a hashtag. So, but actually, you know what? I think there's a real truth in that, which is I've only got the privilege of joining recently, but you and the team have done a fantastic job to get us here, but it's still only foundational, right? And so I think it really does resonate to say hashtag just getting started, because we are just getting started, and And now for all the hard work that everybody's done in the wider ecosystem and everybody that supports this, now's the time to reap the benefits for us all. And so it's almost like we all need to put in that big push now. And then in 5 years, we should be sitting here, Yiannis, you and I going, why didn't we set the target a bit higher? It wasn't as ambitious, right?
Absolutely. And look, you're going to see a shift. And I think that shift is going to be exciting. And it's only just come to me, but actually, if you look at our core values, it kind of the evolution of those core values sum it up perfectly.
Yeah.
So what we're going to see is collaboration shift to partnership.
Yeah.
We're going to see inspiration shift to opportunity. And we're going to see celebration shift to impact. Yeah. And that there sums up where Tech West Midlands is going to head next.
And I think, you know what, I think that's a fantastic place to end. And I would just say, thank you for letting me be part of the journey as well.
Thank you for being a part of it.
Cheers, mate.